Every 4th of July we celebrate the anniversary of the date when our nation declared independence, July 4th, 1776, when the original 13 colonies declared they were no longer tied to Britain. However, we rarely note another important anniversary, the 15th of August, the anniversary of the date when our monetary system declared independence. On August 15th, 1971, we declared our treasury bonds, and thus our dollars, were no longer convertible to gold, which closed the gold window for good, ended the Bretton Woods system, and the gold standard era. Just like when the colonies became free, our U.S. dollars became free-floating. Just like we decided our nation was now grown up and no longer needed King George watching over us, we decided our economy had also grown up and no longer needed those golden training wheels which the gold standard was. On that day in 1971, the federal government basically took the place of all the gold mines, became the issuer of dollars, and relegated gold from worldwide currency status to nothing but a collectible precious metal. The federal government ceased being a user of gold like everybody else and became the issuer of dollars. Since then, the federal government, the issuer of dollars, dollars that are no longer convertible or fixed to gold, has acted under a completely different paradigm. Misunderstanding of the difference is the cause of much of the unnecessary worry by many about the financial stability of the country. Today, in the modern monetary system, the federal government, as issuer of dollars, is no longer constrained, no longer tied to gold. The federal government, the issuer of dollars, the center of the economic universe, no longer needs to tax and sell bonds to finance itself. The rest of us, the non-federal government, you, me, all households, all businesses, all local governments, all state governments, even all foreign governments, or anyone that cannot issue dollars, became users of dollars. The non-federal government, the users of dollars, still needs to live within its means and avoid too much debt because the non-federal government cannot issue dollars. Since the non-federal government cannot issue dollars, just as before when they could not issue gold, they still need to worry about how they will get dollars. The non-federal government, the users of dollars, continues to function like a business. They make sure they spend within their limits and balance their budgets. The federal government, however, no longer worries about having to get dollars since they issue dollars by fiat. The federal government, as the issuer of dollars, is no longer a business. Instead of balancing a budget, they need to balance the economy. Deficit spending and taxation is how the federal government, through fiscal policy, stimulates or constrains the non-federal government to attempt to regulate aggregate demand and balance economic conditions. Since becoming the issuer of dollars, dollars that are no longer convertible or fixed to gold, the federal government now uses its previous powers to tax and sell bonds not to finance spending, but instead to provide an environment for greater growth and wider prosperity. It is crucial that we all understand that there is a huge difference when the federal government deficit spends and when the non-federal government deficit spends, or quote-unquote prints money. The non-federal government, the users of dollars, incurs a debt when it prints money or deficit spends, so it needs to spend within its means and balance its budget. The federal government, however, since leaving the gold standard era, and is now the issuer of dollars, is not in debt when it prints money or deficit spends. It has bigger problems to deal with now. It needs to spend according to need, to balance its economy. In other words, each and every one of us in the non-federal government are in our very own balancing act, but the federal government is balancing all of us in one gigantic balancing act. The federal government balances the economy by attempting to regulate aggregate demand with fiscal policy and also with monetary policy. Fiscal policy is executed by the legislative and executive branches, Congress and the President, and monetary policy is executed by an agent of the federal government, the Federal Reserve Bank. Fiscal policy is administered by adjusting amounts of federal government deficit spending, federal income taxes, and monetary policy is administered by adjusting the price or interest rates of dollars. Every